Namaskar. In today's edition of Right Angle, I'd like to share my views with you all about a very, very important development that took place yesterday, and that is the tariffs that US President Donald Trump has imposed on almost all countries in the world, including India. He did it by American time yesterday, but actually, he said it is the Liberation Day, that is April 2nd, the Liberation Day. But in our case, it was October 3rd. But by their time, he did it. And let me confide right at the very beginning that I am not a student of economics, and this particular trade issues are complicated issues. It has got great many economic dimensions, but then as it affects all of us as common citizens or common persons, one should say something out of one's common sense, and then plus what one has read the so-called economic experts on Trump's decision. So as I said, it's a very complicated issue, but to put it very simply, what he has done, there are two angles to Trump's decision, and that is uniformly he has imposed 10% taxes, and then the other is the reciprocal taxes, in the sense that if any country is imposing X amount of tariffs on American products in their country, so that country's products in the American market will be matched. But what he has done is that he has not exactly applied that yardstick. He has made it half. As I said, it is a very complicated thing. But then the end result is this: that if you take everything into account, then the new taxes now on Chinese goods in American market will be around 55 or 56%. Followed by Vietnam, I think the second highest, that is 46, 47%. European Union and Japan, I think 24%. India, I think I have read two different figures. Some people say it is 26%, and some say that it is 27%. So it is a matter of 1%. So it doesn't really matter. And these things will be enforced from 9th of April. And why Trump is doing it, his rationale is this: America, according to him, is providing market to every country's products, and there the America is being exploited, in the sense that in American markets, they more or less are getting very liberalized entry, with attracting very low American tariffs, whereas the American products in the other countries is much more, and that leads to the so-called total trade deficit. That means there is a huge gap between what the Americans import and what the Americans export to the rest of the world. And that means they import much more than what they export. So that total trade deficit as of today, or as of say March 2025, was $918.4 billion, and it is I think the figure is that it was 133.5 billion dollar more than what was the situation in the year 2023. And that means one is talking of the figure that I gave. It is the 2024 financial year figure, and some say it includes even the March 2025, that particular month also. And this trade deficit is 3.1% of the US GDP. So, and when I'm talking of $1 billion, I think $1 billion, if you roughly convert it into the Indian rupees, given the present exchange rate between dollar and rupee, it will be nearly 854 crore. So you can imagine 1 billion, if it is 854 crore, then if you add it into 918.4 billion, you can imagine what an astronomical sum that is. So that being the case, he says that it is enough. It is affecting the American producers. It is and it is also generating unemployment in America. So if America will be importing less and producing more within their own country, it is like America first, then obviously not only the American industry will prosper, but also it will generate more employment to the American youth. And this is what he had promised during his electioneering. Now that he has got elected, he is only implementing what he had promised to the American electorate. That is Trump's rationale. But in the process, what has happened is that that when one talks of international trade, there is a international organization called World Trade Organization, which came up after prolonged debates and discussions. Rather, it got converted from GATT to WTO sometime in late 1990s. And Trump's this particular policy actually contravenes many of the principles or rules of this WTO, in the sense that WTO says very clearly that every member country will have such a tariff system that it cannot be discriminatory in nature. Your tariffs cannot be country specific unless you have got some special bilateral arrangement or regional arrangement. It cannot be country specific. That means you cannot say on one country you will be imposing tariffs say up 50%, another country 90%, another country 5%. You can't do it. It has to be uniform, broadly uniform, unless there are some bilateral or regional agreements. So obviously that does contravene this principle. And the point is that when one is talking of India, so let's concentrate on that. I think that is the main reason why I wanted to share my thoughts. What impact it will have on India? America happens to be India's largest trading partner. I think around 18 to 20% of our total exports go to United States. And America also is one of the countries with which we enjoy a trade surplus. That means we export more to America and import less from America. That is why this balance of trade deficit, or rather this imbalance, is in our favor and is against India. And that is why Trump always says, though Modi is my great personal friend, but India is a very tough country, very, very high tariffs. We are not exactly going into those details here, but broadly speaking, the fact is that if I go by the statistics, as of today, or rather let's talk of this 2024, our total trade surplus, or rather balance, that means we enjoyed over America, is that of $46 billion. Our total export I think was around $78 billion, $78 billion in 2020, but I think it is $77.5 billion in the financial year, this thing, and out of which we enjoyed the surplus of $46 billion. It is, if you talk in terms of ratio, it is quite a big one. And Trump has got really his reasons to point out how India has been very tough and is exploiting America as far as the overall, trade issues or trade thing is concerned, because we do enjoy that $46 billion in surplus or other balance of trade in our favor as against America. So now that he has imposed this 26% of the things extra tariffs on Indian products in American market, what exactly is going to be its impact on our economy and on our exports? I think the government of India has not officially responded to it, but if you read some sort of reactions, reported reactions unofficially, and some of the views also that have come from some Indian industries, they say that it's a mixed bag. Mixed bag in the sense, they say that compared to other countries, as I said, that China is 56%, Vietnam 46%, the other countries more or less 24-25%, and that includes America's closest allies there in Europe, and the type of things that we do export. It is not that tough as far as India is concerned on this latest as far as this Trump's overall policy, that particular tariff decision vis-a-vis India. It is a mixed bag in the sense that you see what will happen if the other countries, like say Bangladesh, we do export textile, and they are our biggest competitors. Even there are many commodities in which Vietnam is a big competitor. So when they are being imposed extra tariffs in the American market compared to the Indian products, it means we have got a better chance of selling our products in America vis-a-vis our competitors who have been taxed, or rather who have been imposed more tariffs. That is one way of saying. But that does not mean that it will not have an impact, because what happens is this. Let us try to find out. I'm not going into details. What exact commodities that we do export, but there have been some studies. What are the commodities that will be hitting us hard? And it is very simple. Suppose there is a country A. Suppose in India we are say country A, and we are selling to a country B. And if, let us try to find out, in that country B, the difference between the tariffs that they impose on our products and the tariffs we impose on that country's product, if that gap is very high, suppose हम कपड़ा बेच रहे हैं अमेरिकन मार्केट में, वो कपड़ा बार्टन कर क्या होता है that वो अमेरिका that particular commodity जो होता है अमेरिका 10% आपको टैक्स टैरिफ लगाता है. जैसे ट्रम्प साहब बोलते हैं कि इट इज़ अनफेयर थिंग, बट उनका जो अमेरिकन इक्विवेलेंट प्रोडक्ट्स जब इंडियन मार्केट में आते हैं तो हम इसमें 50% टैक्स लगाते हैं, टैरिफ ड्यूटीज लगाते हैं. तो व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस हियर? 50 minus 10, 40% in our favor. तो हमको कैसे पता लगेगा व्हाट आर द कमोडिटीज दैट आर गोइंग टू बी हिट वेरी हार्ड? जब देखते हैं कि हमारा टैरिफ्स इक्विवेलेंट प्रोडक्ट्स ऑफ अमेरिका के उसके लिए ज़्यादा है, मच मोर प्लस, एंड वो कितना परसेंटेज ऑफ दोज थिंग्स में खरीदते हैं. सपोज अमेरिकन क्या करते हैं कि ये जो इंडिया का जो सेगमेंट है, मैंने जैसे बोला कि कोई कपड़ा अमेरिकन जो टोटल जो इंपोर्ट करते हैं फ्रॉम ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड, एंड उससे क्या होता है, सपोज quite a significant percentage of their total imports of that particular commodity from the rest of the world. Suppose the total they import as far as that commodity is concerned, say 80% or 100%, and out of that 100%, if Indian things are quite a significant number, like say 40%, 50%, 80%, plus मैंने बोला कि this tariff gap is there, quite considerable gap in our favor. And now that reciprocity, मतलब आप जितना करोगे वो भी इतना डालेंगे. So obviously that commodities that we will be selling them will become much higher. I hope I have explained it properly. The point is, जब the tariff rate is higher in India's favor, and that particular commodity under tariff, if America is buying that particular commodity more from India compared to what is buys the same commodity from the rest of the world, तो वो जितने सब commodity इस फील्ड में आएंगे वो डेफिनेटली दे विल बी हिट हार्ड. एंड वो रेशियो जैसे धीरे धीरे कम हो जाएगा. सपोज अभी मैंने जैसे बोला ना 50%, 10%, सपोज हम वो हो जाएगा 40%, 20%, एंड उनका जो अमेरिकन शेयर जो होता है टोटल एक्सपोर्ट्स वाला जो होता है, सपोज 50% से 5% कि 10% अमेरिका खरीदता है, देन ऑब्वियसली इम्पैक्ट विल बी gradually less and less and less. So what the economists say, they have identified certain categories of products: high risk category, medium risk category, and low risk category. And वो high risk category में क्या क्या item है? High risk category में, as far as Indian items are concerned, if I think, then you'll be surprised to know one is this. Automobile parts, particularly, it's not that our cars, Indian-made cars are there in big number in American market. No, but they in automobile parts, vehicles and vehicles parts. Then you have got meat, fish, ये सब जो products, marine products, and America actually that Indian product they import nearly 80% of their total exports. Import from India. So they will, as I explained it, that will be hit very hard. And these are the three important, and then fish also, fish, meat, fish, agricultural products, and as I said earlier, that automobile vehicles and parts, there are some electronics components also. That has got a significant market there. These are the very high risk items, and as far as the moderate risk products, they happen to be your textiles, and they happen to be also one is textiles, another is furniture, bedding, mattresses, lamps. Another is stone, plaster, cement, asbestos, pharmaceuticals, very important thing. And fortunately, in that reciprocal, that tariffs that Trump has imposed, as far as India is concerned, these pharmaceutical products have been exempted. And I think this also has been exempted. What is that? If I remember correctly, one is obviously pharmaceutical products have been exempted. Another is this computers part. What is it? Furniture, bedding, happen to carpets. No, definitely this. I'll remember this right now. I'm not remembering. I'm sorry. But then most important thing is the pharmaceutical products. It's a huge market. Of our pharmaceutical products there in America, and they fortunately have been exempted. So, and then the low risk wala. Low risk means there are many things. in which that tariff difference is not much, and then America's share of total imports of those commodities is very negligible. So the point is that this thing, they will not be hit very hard in a very minor way that will come. So this low risk. So the basic point is that, as I said, these are the things that will be hit very hard. Unfortunately, the pharmaceutical thing has exempted for the time being. This being the case, so that is why you see that if you go that many economists have calculated how much it is going to have an adverse impact on our total GDP. They give the worst possible scenario, and then the most realistic scenario, the worst possible scenario means they say that it may be affecting our overall 2% or nearly 2%, not exactly more than I think 1.8 or 9% of our total GDP. That is the worst possible scenario. And the realistic scenario is that it will be 0.8 or 0.9. It will be fluctuating between these two. So if you take that thing into account and compare India's situation with other countries, say China, Japan. So India that way is in a much. India shouldn't consider that Trump has been very literally kind to India. That means we have been affected, but we have not been that badly affected or as hard hit as the other countries have been, and who happen to be your main trading competitors. So, but the fact remains. As I said, that the US is our number one trading partner. 18 to 20% of our exports go there, and whatever is that, ये तो कम होगा ना, ये तो बढ़ेगा नहीं. The whole point is that we are going to lose. So, what is the way out? So, there are two possible scenarios the experts are talking of. One, of course, as I said, that WTO, though it is against this discriminatory tariffs, the point is that it does allow the individual or rather bilateral trade partnership or regional trade partnership. So that way, both Trump and Modi, whom even yesterday Trump described Modi as a great friend of mine, and we are negotiating a bilateral trade agreement. And that particular trade agreement is supposed to be finalized by the end of this autumn. That means by September, October. I think, I may be wrong, but I think what will happen is that the talks have begun among the official level, the initial rounds. There will be many more such rounds. So I have a feeling what will happen that Trump is supposed to come to India this year. There is a Quad summit, that Quad partners in India, Australia, Japan, and US. So that summit is supposed to take place here in India. So Trump is supposed to come around that time. I think September, October. I think during that trip, during that visit of Trump, there is every possibility of this trade agreement coming out, fructifying. And once that trade agreement is concluded, then many of these things can be taken care of, because once you have got you have to then see the overall your strategic relationship between the two countries, and because so many other factors also will be taken into account or come under consideration. Your investment, your services, then some of your rationalization of your trade thing. There are certain concessions both the countries will be according to each other. I think that is what invariably happens. So once that happens, this 26% or 27% is not going to be there. It will be drastically brought down that figure. So it's a matter of 5 or 6 months, and as Trump says that Modi is his great friend. Two great friends will sit together, and when they conclude that bilateral trade agreement between India and US, so many of such fears or many of such fallouts of yesterday's decision will be I think sorted out. The second angle or the second possibility, what people are saying or experts are saying, that as I said, that Trump is not or has not imposed this policy only on India, all over the world. And I think now he's fighting his biggest trade wars with two of its most important neighbors. One is Canada, another is Mexico. And what happens is that the Canadians and Mexicans also, when you impose this thing, we have not done it. As I said, that India has not officially reacted, but the rest of many countries have reacted to Trump's policies. Like China has decided to impose more tariffs on the American product. Europe, I think France has taken some decision. Canada and Mexico, they also have decided. That Canada will have an election in 2 months' time. So, if America is very tough, and the type of products that Canada and Mexico do buy from America, there are quite a few products that India can buy in those markets. That means, suppose for instance, I'm talking of these textiles, I'm talking of these agricultural products. I think Mexico is a big buyer of America's agricultural products, and most of these items India can provide. So India can find a ready-made market there in Mexico, which because of this Trump's policies will be looking for alternate sources of supply. So also is the case with Canada. And in case of Canada, there is another added advantage, is that it may sound as a big irony. We import oil, the petroleum things from many countries. But what we do, we have got great refining facilities here in India, whether it is Ambani or other. And then what they do, that refined products we export to many countries. And you will be surprised to know that we export some of the refined petroleum products to America too, and then Europe too. One of the main complaints some countries earlier were making because of our stand in that Ukraine war and the way we import Russian oil. They are complaining India is importing oil from Russia, and after refining them is selling them in European market. And that way people are complaining to Trump that how your good friend Modi is nullifying your sanctions on Russia in a way, because Russia is getting out of that sanctions through India in such a manner. But anyway, that's a different thing. The point is that refined products, your agricultural products, your electronics, and as I said, pharmaceutical is a huge thing. So when they think of, let us think of North America as a whole. And when I'm talking of North America, these are the three principal countries, US, Canada, and Mexico. Suppose there is some problem with America, we can now explore the two adjacent markets there, Canada and Mexico. And if you do that, and if our products are competitive, and if their quality is good, we will be in a much better position than most of the countries in the rest of the world to deal with Trump's tariff war. I hope I made some sense, and I hope you understood what I meant. So let me stop here. Thank you very much for listening to me. Namaskar.